I'm here in Mexico, Irapuato. I'm doing some volunteer podiatry service, and one day a week we go into a drug rehabilitation center. I say we because I have a translator, and sometimes I have a friend who's a pastor that comes in. So I serve their feet, they serve their hearts, and together we work to provide a really nice service for these guys. Anyway, they're awesome people. When I was there a couple of months ago, I met a guy called Ricardo. He's the youngest boy that I've seen, 15 years old, in a drug rehabilitation center. And he presented with foot pain. He presented with plantar fasciitis and tibialis posterior tendinopathy. And more about his history. He was born with a birth defect with Spina Bifida. It's affected his bowel. He wears nappies, and you could just tell, 15-year-old boy wearing nappies in Mexico is hard stuff psychologically. And anyway, so I wanted to help him. I could do I was very limited what I could do when he was at the rehabilitation center. When he left, I was able to do a fundraiser because when I watched him walk and I looked at his joint mobility and also his muscle strength, he can't propel quite well. He's very, very weak, and it's absent that literally cannot get on his tippy toes. His gastrocnemius and soleus, like that sort of posterior calf muscles are so weak, and he can't propel himself forward. He's got some significant range of motion. It's quite flexible. But anyway, I thought it'd be good for him to get some rocker bottom shoes. We did a fundraiser, we bought him the shoes. I wanted to make him some sort of like orthotics. Very limited with my resources. I made some out of recycled sandals. It worked for a couple of months, but for the last 2 months he hasn't been wearing them. And I even looked at my previous orthotics I made him, and just things that I do differently now. I can see by his shoe wear and tear that, it pushed him too much laterally. Like when I put a rear foot varus wedge, he was really weight bearing on his lateral heel, meaning that his shoe wear, you could see it significantly in the shoe. Anyway, so long story short, I wanted to make him something durable before I leave. So I'm making him some orthotics that have been actually customized to his foot. His foot is quite hard to work with. It has some deformities. The shoe sort of squeezes everything together. But the orthotics, obviously, it can be a bit tricky when you're doing a plaster mold, a weight-bearing plaster mold. So anyway, so this is my attempt to give him a hand, and we'll see how it goes. I'm at a really cool guy's house. His name's Ricardo. Hello, Ricardo. He's 15 years old, so we met him at a rehabilitation center. And when I first met him, he had a lot of pain in his feet. He had plantar fasciitis and tibialis posterior tendinopathy, and I'm going to show you that in a second. But ultimately, the core reason is he has spina bifida. He's had this obviously all his life as a birth defect, and it's affected obviously his bowel, but it's also affected his feet. So when he walks with a really flat foot, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Previously, we made some, firstly we did a fundraiser, and we got him these shoes with a rocker bottom, because when he walks, you'll see that he can't propel forward. He's very weak in his posterior muscles at his calves. We made him some orthotics. I had to recycle this from sandals. So we've got a rear foot varus wedge, and then we have some arch support. And he used these for a couple of months, and then obviously they've lost their durability, and he hasn't been wearing them for the last 2 months. I've touched his feet, and he's got a lot of inflammation around his plantar fascia on both his feet. So I'm going to show you that. So this is his feet. As you can see on the ground, not in weight bearing. You can just see how everything is sort of just really flexible and rolling inwards. A lot of medial pressure there. So yeah, so his feet are a little bit smaller than usual, and that has a lot to do with the Spina Bifida. So yeah, the development his foot has definitely affected his gait. Por favor, tu comenar para mí. Just okay. Uno más tiempo. Awesome. So you can see when he walks. Uno más tiempo. Yeah, perdón. So you can see how very flat when he walks. There's no propulsion whatsoever. So yeah, so we're going to give him support just for his plantar fascia and those sort of tendons. So what I'll be doing is I'll be doing the Jack's test, where I just dorsiflex that big toe, and that automatically gives him a bit of an arch there. It activates a windlass mechanism. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get some wet sand. I'm going to put it all around. We're going to hold that position, and then we're going to slowly take his foot off. Then I'm going to put his inner sole for his shoe inside to make sure that it's the right size. And then we're going to put some plaster in there, and that's the casting. Hand around it, dorsiflex that toe. I'm just inverting that heel a little bit, pushing the sand really close to the skin contours. It's a bit hard with Ricardo's feet because they definitely are a little bit different shape. As you can tell here, the heel really bulges out, and so yeah, so it can be a bit hard to fit in the shoe. So I've had to really be creative and play with the sand a bit and get the right shape that I think that matches the inner sole of his shoe. So these were the old orthotics that I made him. I tried to give him a bit of a heel lift with a Varus rear foot wedge, and that was just because he really struggles to propel forward. But as you can see here, I don't know if you can see, but he is really laterally weight bearing on his shoes that we got him, and it might have a lot to do with the wedge. Even though it felt comfortable for him and it helped reduce his symptoms because he wore it for a couple of months. All right, we see the different little colors. I'm having a crack at making some beautiful multicolored plantiers, orthotics. Da, 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 da. Yeah! Right now it's just trying to get symmetrical sort of shapes in the orthotics, not so much his natural curvature, because you're never going to get symmetrical feet generally. So yeah, see how we go. Alright, we're back here. We're just giving him the orthotics. We've had to make a lot of changes in the orthotics because they didn't fit into his shoes. As you can see, we've gone through different pairs of shoes. So I've had to grind around the heel, the lateral side of the orthotic, had to get rid of a lot of excess plastic just to fit it in the shoe. Yes, fingers crossed, this is the scary part. So he's just putting his shoes on. We're going to go for a walk, make sure that it fits well. That needs to be comfortable because I can't come back here. If there's too much pressure on the arch, I'm going to maybe either reduce it or I'm going to put a heel lift in there. So he likes them, they're comfortable. He doesn't have any irritation on the heel, on the arch, which is awesome. So he's going to wear them as much as he can. And when he doesn't do a lot of walking, he has his other shoes. We couldn't fit them in them. They're very, very narrow.